looking into Dionaea, or Venus flytrap, as you also might know it by. Specifically, what we'll be talking about is what to do with them in winter. These plants, they are very famous, very popular. A lot of times I hear people asking, like, when will they grow, like, to eat people? They don't really. I mean, this is about the size they get. In summer they're a bit bigger, in winter they're a bit smaller. But that's what the point of this video right now is, to just learn a little bit more about them. Especially because Venus flytraps have a really bad rap for just dying on people. I mean, like, you buy one and then, like, just for seemingly no reason at all, it just dies on you, which actually shouldn't happen. And I think it's all just a question of knowing your plants better, so you can be a better plant parent or plant carer, whatever you want. Yeah, anyways, so first thing that you will notice is that there is a large amount of brown leaves. There is one that was actually flowering. It shouldn't do this, but okay. A lot of brown leaves, and then, like, some really nice green leaves in the middle, and that's it basically. So why? Like, is there something wrong with them? No, not really. It's winter now, obviously, and these plants, they go dormant in winter. So this is, like, one very, very important factor. Like, if you don't give them the opportunity to go dormant, or even force them into dormancy, they may survive one winter, but for sure they won't see their next one. So, very important point. They need a cold period. Why they need a cold period? Well, they come from basically the same habitat as Sarracenia. So, Sarracenia is this thing here. You can see it's also, like, brown and everything. It's in its dormant period also. Sarracenia, they don't really care about winter yes, winter no. I mean, we'll talk about this at length somewhere else. Just these guys, you can keep them in your room or you can keep them outside for the most part. They don't mind. However, these guys, they do need to have a winter's rest. Here in the greenhouse, this is a little bit easier. I mean, you can hear the heating up here, the converter blowing warm air inside. It just keeps everything from freezing, because most plants would be just happy if it was colder, but actually I need to be here and work and do stuff with the plants, so it needs to be, for me, basically a little bit warmer. And also, of course, there is some more sensitive ones. I mean, you know the place, this is also where all the cacti are and everything. So let's get back to this. Let me introduce you to Predator. This is one very, very nice clone. It has very huge traps. You can see actually here the size of the traps, summer traps. Right now it's just a smaller rosette. It has fused teeth. Reminds me, like, of a shell, bivalve in winter. Like, it gets really red inside and just very short petioles. Very nice plant. Anyways, it will be our model for, like, what to do with them right now, and actually how to keep this plant happy over winter, and in general happy throughout the year. First of all, let's talk about the pot. The pots for these plants, they are pretty deep, pretty large. If I just turn it around, you see how big this is, how deep it is. This is over 20 centimeters for sure, and you can see till where it's wet, to here. So all of this is standing in water all the time, and this is above the water level. The thing with these plants is they are okay, some of them are a little bit bigger, but in general these are small plants that don't have a lot of roots. They have, like, maybe 1, 2, 3 at most really long tap roots that just don't have any side branches to them or anything. But the trick is that, yes, they do share the habitat with Sarracenia, as we mentioned, but they live at a different place in the habitat. Like whereas Serratsenia would be at the bottom of the depression, so like where the groundwater is basically at ground level, so it's like flooded more or less the whole time. The Dionaea, the Venus flytraps, they would be at the edges of these depressions, so they would actually be, I don't know, maybe like up to or around half a meter above the water level. It's just their long tap roots that we give them space in the long pots, these long roots that reach to the groundwater level. So like the little pots that you get them in, like in shops, like the small ones, round ones, the 9 centimeters, they are basically, I mean, they're the standard pot in which you would buy like any sort of plant, but they're actually not good for Venus flytraps. What Venus flytraps need is this sort of pots. Okay, so anyways, the long taproot. Also, the plant has one more interesting feature. Did you ever hear that it's resistant to fire? I bet you didn't. It's just something that's maybe not that much known or maybe not that much shared. But it makes perfect sense. Because like these bogs, these depressions with the groundwater where the Venus flytraps and Serratsenia live, they are in an environment that is basically grassland, interspersed like with some native shrubs, trees and everything. And it burns down quite often. The fire actually is the thing that gets rid of the competition of the woody plants, the bushes and the trees, and leaves the area open for all the herbaceous plants. So apart from the carnivores, like all the grasses, sedges, whatever else is there. So plants of open habitat, they have to be, therefore, in that specific case, they need to be resistant to fire, because fire comes through, clears out all the saplings, clears out all the old grass, basically all the organic material above ground. So how does the Venus flytrap survive this? I might show you like at some point, not today, I'll say why later, but you'll have to trust me on this one for now. So anyways, so the plant is at ground level, and if we imagine about here in the pot, about maybe like around 10 centimeters plus minus down, it would have its pseudo bulb. Like it's not a real bulb, it's just the very shortened rhizome. So rhizome is basically adapted stem, and from the stem obviously the leaves grow. This is with all plants the same thing. So the bottoms of the leaves in the Venus flytraps, they are just they don't have the green pigment because they are underground, so they are like yellowish, and they are a little bit thicker, the bottom parts, enlarged, and act as basically the storage part of the plant, the storage for like any excess sugars, nutrients or whatever it would have, and is actually a pretty good adaptation for the fire. Because why? Fire comes through, clears out all the leaves, pseudo bulb with the stem, with the growing point, is underground, it's unaffected, and it can just start growing again. Yeah, because the plant doesn't get the fire to clean out the leaves, when we grow it as a potted plant, basically we need to do it. I mean, we don't need to, but the plant looks better, and the new growth will have more space to develop normally. So when we when we clean out these dry leaves is in winter when the plant is dormant. And it's really simple. You grab a leaf and you pull it. If it's dry, and as much as it's dry, will just break off. This one totally could be this much is underground and is part of that pseudo bulb. Totally possible. We just continue. You can even do it just by hand, like this. Just clean out. It's really so straightforward, so simple. And again, there is totally nothing wrong with Venus flytraps if some of the traps get black and die back. I mean, this is totally normal even in summer, because again, the traps, they don't last forever. they close. Their mechanism works like maybe twice, sometimes a few more times. After that, when it stops functioning, the leaf will just die back, and the new one will replace it, like with all plants actually. Okay, some resistance there. Okay, now we are just left with the old stem. For the stems, I suggest that you don't pull them out. It probably would go, but it's just better to just cut it off, like anywhere, like as deep down as you can. For these leaves, just get rid of the really dead part. Don't pull, don't do anything weird. At this point, like, we can also remove my friend Drosera tocayensis. You can leave the moss. Actually, I have them like with a bit of peat moss, dead peat moss on top. It can be live peat moss. Like, you can also just put tiny little quartz rocks. Again, be sure, no limestone, all quartz, or even like just artificial materials. Limestone, big no-no. It kills carnivorous plants. It makes the it's just, yeah, anyways. Okay, so basically this is the result. Why no pulling? So as I said, the plant is dormant now. They will survive if you want to transplant them, if you need to transplant them or whatever. They will survive it. It's just that they don't really like to be disturbed in winter. Again, they are dormant. They prefer just to be cleaned out and left as it is until they start growing. In early summer, we'll do another video on like vegetative reproduction by leaf cuttings. So stay tuned for that one. For now, this is everything. Yeah, maybe let's talk a little bit more now about what we said, how to keep this plant alive. So we mentioned the pot, we mentioned cleaning it, we mentioned how many times the traps can work. With the traps and how much they work, people, especially kids, they really like to tease the plant, to close the traps, or to feed them whatever they want to feed them. Please don't do this. Yeah, it's okay from time to time to just touch the trap inside to see how it closes, but don't make it a habit. Like, leave the plant alone, you know. As I said, the traps don't work forever. They work a few times and then they stop. And this plant, as it is, it's living like it's a teeter-totter for how much nutrients it gets, how much nutrients it uses. So if you mess with the plant, with how the trap works, basically it just will run out of energy to produce new traps and will die just straight from that. As for feeding, do not ever feed it stuff like cheese, beef, burgers, salami, whatever else you think, like hamburgers, I don't know, cauliflower. Don't do that. It will catch everything it wants, everything it needs by itself, even in a room. I mean, I am sure you have like a spider somewhere or a stray fly flies in. In fact, a plant like this, if it catches like 3 bugs during summer, it's happy. It just looks dangerous. It's not greedy. It's not really doesn't need that much. I mean, Sarracenias, they're gluttons compared to the Venus flytrap. Maybe only if you have it in a terrarium like that's really sealed and totally nothing has a chance to come in, then yeah, you can feed it. But even in that case, use an insect. You can use, I don't know, fish food. Actually, not any kind of fish food, like dried daphne or like mosquito larvae or something like this. Even better if you catch a live bug, or I don't know, maybe you have, I don't know, a bearded dragon or something at home and you feed it crickets or cockroaches. That would be perfect, actually. But again, don't overdo it. I mean, like 3 bugs per year, more than enough, and it doesn't need anything in winter. Okay, so let's go back to this. What does it need in winter? Again, it just needs to rest. If you keep it at room temperature, it won't get the signal, the cold, that would push it into dormancy. The other thing that it is very sensitive to is day length. As soon as the day starts getting longer, which is the more north or more south you are, you know how much the daytime and nighttime change over the course of the year. Yeah. So anyways, as soon as New Year is past and like the days start getting longer faster, and the plant is somewhere warm, it will want to flower. Like this is in an instant. And you shouldn't let it do it, because it uses just way too much energy for flowering. I mean, even like with this one here, you see how big the inflorescence is, and this is a small one. These things, they can be like maybe like 50-70 centimeters long, and the flower, I'll put the flowers on the screen. The flowers don't look like much, but they are flowers, but they are very big. Like they require a lot of energy. This whole process of flowering with the Venus flytrap actually requires a lot of energy. It's fine if it does it in summer when the day is long and the sunlight is intense, but it's definitely not okay if it does it in winter. So in winter, if you have it at room temperature, take the flowers away. Actually, there's one trick that you can do that we'll talk about right now that is probably the best thing that you can do. Because I'm guessing like most people don't really have the option to dedicate like a whole greenhouse for this sort of hobby. You just grow them on a windowsill. So, I mean, you have to work with what you have. So what you do, when your plant, actually like this, end of October, doesn't matter what your plant looks like, clean it up, take a zip bag or any plastic bag that you can tie, put the whole pot in a bag, tie it, close it, and put it in a fridge, and leave it in the fridge till April 1st. I say April 1st because that's Fool's Day, and this sounds too bogus to be true, but try it. It's a very neat way how to force the plant into dormancy, because Venus flytraps, actually they are totally fine if the temperature falls down to around 0, even like -5 is still fine, maybe for a few hours even lower temperatures. But for sure it won't survive the temperate winters that we have outside. That's why I keep them in the greenhouse. If you're like somewhere South Europe or something at the coast, I suppose they would even survive outside. I'm not sure, probably depending on your local area, but since it's warmer, probably they would. Anyways, here they need to be somewhere where it just doesn't get that cold, and for me that's the greenhouse, for you that's the fridge. And yeah, light. You might ask, what about the light? When it's dormant, it doesn't really need light. Just let it rest. When you bring it out, it will get warm and everything again, and it can flower, it can do whatever. Anyways, I think that's it for now. Yeah, okay, yeah, of course. Why bag? Obviously, you want your fridge to be clean, and you want your plant to remain wet. The substrate around it should be wet. That's why the plastic bag. Don't just put it, I don't know, in a tray and in a fridge. I mean, no. Bag, fridge. Yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, so this is how they look after the cleaning. You see no more of the dry leaves, just this winter growth. I just left these guys out. They are like too small. I don't want to disturb them right now. But otherwise, all the big plants, all the dry leaves are gone, and they look much prettier. Hope this was helpful. If it was interesting, or I don't know, you're interested in plants in general, please like and subscribe. It would really help the channel grow. Thank you and see you on the next one.